I mean, that part in there is edible. Right there is a perfectly edible. Now, the question, Keith, is can you imagine a brewing, a fermentation approach to bamboo shoots?
They're pretty tender as they are, but
Yeah.
it would be interesting to sort of imagine this sort of tart, crunchy, not unlike pickled carrots or other sort of shoots.
I imagine it'd be quite mild and quite nice. I mean, and there's just a ton of bamboo, and this is listed as an invasive by the state of Texas. Our particular project, Invasive Spirits, is looking at nature in the city and our experiences of nature in urban spaces. So the project that we've been pursuing at Harvard, at MetaLab, has been about taking those invasive species, taking samples of microorganisms that live naturally in the environments all around us, and using, traditional peer production, collaborative practices in brewing and fermentation and the culinary arts. We brought it to South by Southwest because even though it's a practice that is about foraging and indeed pulling weeds in the city, there's a technological dimension in that many of the practices, the virtues of work in the digital age, peer production, the sense of a commons, these have deep roots in traditional practices like brewing and fermentation.
I think we're going to hand out some materials that we've been gathering here from some of the kind of weedy edges of South by Southwest. I just want to ask you not to eat any of these things. Some of them may be hallucinogenic, in fact. In any case, I will tell you that these are all invasive as identified by the state of Texas. We've been trying to get at this question of who belongs and who doesn't, and how can we get along through our senses. And one of the chief ways in which we've been exploring that has been through brewing.
We wouldn't necessarily go down there and forage and prepare a meal out of something that is so visibly entangled in runoff from the city, because we're conscious at least of the accumulation of toxins and things. But it's curious to point out that we would be comfortable going to a grocery store and purchasing a conventional form of produce that we know in fact has accumulated herbicides and pesticides and fungicides.
Even if we didn't want to ingest these berries, they're covered with a sort of cuticle, which is probably fungal,
Yeah. We're actually going to take them back to Boston with us and do some sort of collaborative brew and capturing some of the essence and some of the energy of South by Southwest. Let's go brew some beer.